Welcome. This is the Board of Selectmen meeting, September 10th, 2018 at 6 p.m. We are at the Rutland Public Library. This meeting is being taped for channel 191 on Charter Cable and also gets uploaded to YouTube. You can find the link to the Rutland channel on the town website. Right now, I think it's on the Cable Commission page, and we'll probably try to make that a little bit more noticeable for the future. Let's start our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Could I get a motion to sign Treasury Warrant 6 and payroll? Thank you.
Second.
Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. And we have some meeting minutes, Monday, August 27th.
Motion to approve the minutes of August 27th, 18.
Second.
Thank you. Any changes? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We're going to jump right in and National Grid? No. National Grid. You came early. We're jumping right into the poll hearing. Come on up.
How you doing? Evening.
Fine, how are you? Thank you. Right, I'm going to hereby open the poll hearing for one SO poll on Wachusett Street. And we can read that during the motion. Has everyone seen the map? Does anybody have any questions? Obviously, we need to know from Gary if he approved the location, which I think we said.
I did.
You did?
You and I moved through it better than the 4 feet required.
Great. And who is here for us from National Grid? Welcome.
My name is Jay Lucy.
Hi.
Hi.
Do you mind letting us know just the poll location and what's happening?
We have a customer at 163 Wachusett Street that is requesting an underground service to that pole. We chose that specific location because we do not need to guy the pole across the street in the resident's property. We would end up with a guy wire in the resident's property across the street if we went any further into the property at 163, so that was why we chose the public way, essentially, instead of the property at 163.
Gotcha. Is there anybody here from the public to speak to the location of the pole? No? Does anyone from the board have any questions?
No, Gary said he's okay with it,
Yep, this is an easy one tonight.
and I'm okay with it.
All right, hereby close the hearing, and I will take a motion. And whoever reads the motion, we should have the entire description of the location for the record.
Well, we've got two here, right? So, what's the one on the back?
This is Wachusett Street. Nope, it's just the one, right? Right, Abby?
Yeah,
It's
it's
just
the
the one.
same one.
There's two copies to sign, but
Okay.
So I'll make a motion that the board approve National Grid to install one SO pole on Wachusett Street, beginning at a point approximately 650 feet northeast of the center line of the intersection of East County Road in Wachusett Street and continuing approximately 20 feet in a northwest direction. National Grid will install one pole 39-1. To install pole 39-1, National Grid will run approximately 45 feet of secondary conductor from P39, which is existing, to P39-1, the proposed, and connect customer underground to overhead.
do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Nope.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. And you're done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Side two. Anita, 6:04, we're already ahead of schedule.
So, just a few things. We're just putting the primary election to bed. It does take almost a good week after an election, and we're already getting, I just got an email from Edison Research asking for the right spot to get the results for November, so we're already back into the next session. And the November one is scheduled for Tuesday, November 6th, and we will have a 2-week early voting period prior to that, like we did for the presidential election. I believe this time it'll just be during our open office hours, but people will be able to come in and vote. We had 1,102 people cast ballots, and that's about 17.5% of those that are eligible to vote. I don't want to take a lot of your time, but I just wanted to bring up that a few people had expressed some concerns about school being in session during the primary. And I was actually a grandparent that came into my office to talk about it. And right now, the way the schedules are for elections, it's only the primaries that schools have been in session. And so we're not going to have another primary for 2 years unless there's a special election. So it's not anything that needs to be addressed right now. But the annual town meetings of all 5 towns are on the same day, so schools have been closed for that. And they're also having an in-service day for the November. So we do have, just thinking about different options, there aren't a lot of options, but I think that maybe leading up to the next one, that probably the easiest and most cost-effective would be to just simply have a second police officer in the lobby at Naquag. But like I said, that's for discussion down the road. And we do have one police officer at the precinct who generally stays in the back of the room, can see both the rear exit and the side exit. And all our election workers are trained also to watch the flow of all our voters. We want to make sure that they get their ballot deposited in the right box and out the right door. So as far as I know, we didn't have any problems, but any questions?
Can I ask a question? I know there's been conversation about moving Rutland's town meeting and possible voting and everything. That would impact then, schools are closed because all 5 towns are currently voting on the same day. So if that's a conversation that continues, that would be a consideration. Am I correct that schools probably aren't going to close just because Rutland has changed a day?
Right. And I actually think most of the discussion has been for the meeting day rather than the election day. So, but that would be true, so, but it's something to think about in the future, so, right?
Deadline to register to vote for the general?
Is I believe it's the 17th day of October, which is a Wednesday, and we'll be open until 8 o'clock, and I'll probably be back at your another meeting to have the warrant signed, probably your first meeting in October also, so that just goes on, but that's about it.
Everything went smoothly on your end?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
So, all good?
Anybody have any questions? No? Thank you very much.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anita.
We have, this is a big day, a new town planner who started today. Do I see him? There he is. I thought that was you who came in. We thought we would, very lucky to have him here, have you come in and introduce yourself. Mr. George, come on up.
Welcome.
I appreciate that very much. Thank you. My name is Dave George. I live in the area in Holden. We're a resident in Holden for the last 6 years. We intend to be in this area for a long time, the Wachusett region. It's a great place to live. When this opportunity became available, it was just too good to pass up, and I think it's the right opportunity at the right time. So I'm looking forward to working with the town on its planning goals and working with the planning board as well. So I'm glad to be here, and I thank you very much.
You started today, yes?
Yes, I did.
Just jump right in.
Actually, I was fortunate to be able to work for the last 3 Fridays, kind of as a transition period. So during that time, I had the great pleasure to work with Norm Anderson, who's here tonight, having lots of conversations, helping me to get up to speed, which I appreciate your great help. So it wasn't a total shock. So I think the transition was useful, and I'm once again glad to be here.
Do you mind me asking? This is a big change, not least of which is you have a much better commute. Is that correct?
The commute was the cherry on top of it all. Certainly, going into Lexington, it's an hour and 40 minutes, sometimes more.
You're kidding me.
No, it gets built up, and traffic gets worse and worse year after year.
Yeah.
But to be close by and having a 10-minute commute, that's...
So you have to share with us. We always have a lot going on. We always sort of feel like, we're in the weeds, and you're going to help us get out of those weeds. Does Lexington have anything that's wrong in Lexington, or is it all just smooth sailing?
It's once you get there, you'll realize it's the everything works according to plan.
It was very tactful.
So, but hopefully there's things I've learned working there for the last 12 years as the zoning administrator, which is functionally equivalent to the planner. Hopefully I'm able to borrow some ideas and and do what I can. And I'm aware of I'm also on the planners listserv, so we try to be tapped into what's going on in the Commonwealth in terms of what planning, some of the questions that planners are facing. So we try to be aware of those things. And I have my colleagues who I can call on from time to time. So I'm hoping to be able to use all this combined knowledge and practical experience to help further the town's planning agenda.
Thrilled you're here.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Welcome, right.
Welcome.
Thanks, David. Have a good drive home. Drive safe.
Want to bring him up to introduce him to the board?
I suppose we should introduce ourselves. You can see our name tags. Would you like? Should we read off our name tags? You got it.
I can still see kind of from here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, I think all of us at some point will love to be able to sit down with you privately and just say hi and welcome again on our own time, and hopefully we'll be able to catch you. Yeah. And regular hours, right?
Yeah, I'll be here at least 8 to 4:30 Monday through Thursday,
Okay.
and then working some Fridays on when the town hall's closed, working on some projects. Generally, I probably expect to be here at 7:30 in the morning. So whenever I'll be.
Yep.
I'm looking to also establish regular office hours so that the public can be more well served by some predictability in customer service.
In the nice big fancy office we gave you. Yeah.
It has a nice big table, which I like. You can put the plans out.
This is true. All right. Skip, what did you want to do? I'm sorry. I didn't introduce you.
No, I already met him.
Oh, you did. Okay.
Your eggs are in my pickup, and it's
I appreciate that. Should I get them tomorrow?
they're in my pickup, and I didn't lock the door. So
Which pickup's yours?
it's the one that says Kentucky Clock Farm on the side.
I like it.
Did I mention at the beginning of the meeting that we're on camera?
Yeah.
It's a farming community.
Yeah.
That's right.
Thinking we're a little more relaxed than Lexington ever was at this point. But you are welcome to stay. We're so glad you're here. I'm sure. Norm, did you have anything to add or?
The other thing, I've met with Dave, I don't know, 3-4 times now on those Fridays he's been in, and he's just diving right in. Already, I came up late this morning, and he was knee deep in the Bryce Lemon notebooks that we've got, already. So,
Like deep end, jumped right into the deep end. Okay.
yes.
All right. That sounds good to me. Yeah?
Yes.
Thank you, Dave.
Welcome.
David.
We'll see you.
We are a little bit ahead of schedule. Is there anyone here for public comment? No? Yes?
Yes,
Are you going to stay where you are?
I am going to do that.
All right.
Please. I had mentioned it before, and now that Margaret is gone, I would like to make sure that somebody, follows up on it. Did the town send Blair a notice for signatures of private way property owners for the sewer pipeline?
Which one are we talking about? What are we?
Phillips Road, and also, was it Fairview? You were supposed to contact, or the property owners on those, and Blair is supposed to, because Blair, or I would think, should come to you with the signed document saying that he has the right to run that line down their street. It's a private street. They own to the middle of it, not the town.
That would have been around June, right?
Something like that, yeah.
You check the June minutes.
I'm sorry.
I'm not sure if Margaret did.
Dick, I apologize, silence. I'm trying to think how we left that. I thought someone was reaching out to the company to find out what actions had been taken. I mean, do we know if the residents officially
No
have
idea.
not been? We don't.
No.
What level of responsibility do we have to make sure that happens?
I
On a
don't know.
private road.
I this is the first I've heard of it, but I'll follow up.
Okay, thank you.
And that's all I'm gonna dabble tonight. So,
That's it?
thank you.
Really?
Really?
Okay.
Well, I've already had a discussion with Gary and I've resolved a couple of items, so I'm very happy.
Okay.
Oh,
All
well,
right.
excuse me, one thing. Rather than do it later, this parking lot out here, is that gonna be happening soon? At all, do you know offhand?
I am in discussion with Mr. Reed about another possibility for a shared use of that parking lot. So we are ready. I do have a couple of prices to
Okay.
crush, pulverize the material in my yard to use for the parking lot, but I have not discussed that portion of it with Mr. Reed.
Okay, thank you. Now,
Now you're set.
thanks.
Okay, all right, Gary's up.
Okay, I would like to say to Dick, first of all, before I do get up, Dick and Norman and Dave had to take off, and to the board, because you showed some interest in this due to some paperwork that Mr. Williams brought in regarding the grant of roughly $900,000 for Rutland Heights. It seems that it was messed up in the State House because for some reason they thought that we couldn't do any work on that roadway until the land was developed. And as you know, that is a town road going through there to the school property. And the development or not, or lack thereof, of Rutland Heights should have nothing to do with the $900,000 grant. I shared that with Senator Goby and Representative Ferguson. They did a little research, and I got an email from them today, and they agree. So what we have to do, and it sounds like the money obviously has to be applied for, approved. What we have to do is have it shovel-ready, which it is, but we have to have a valid set of plans. So I'd like to go through Quinn and see if we can get those plans and apply that to a portion of the grant so it doesn't come out of pocket, otherwise it'll be out of Chapter 90 funds. So I looked at that as good news. It's been a long time coming, but I'll follow through it. I'll follow through with you guys, and maybe Dave can jump on that as well. Okay?
So
Thank you.
just to be clear, this was the transportation bill from 2014,
Yeah, it was 2014. Yeah.
and the governor would need to sign the bond to release the money, right? Do we have any sense of what they look for from the town? Is it a 50% buy-in and then they'll release, or?
No, actually, it's just what they call shovel-ready, which includes the plans, the engineer plans, so we have to get that. I've got to get a
So
cost.
that's it. Yeah, so that would be it. That's the buy-in, shovel-ready.
Right. Which I
would be-
consider it, and I told them I consider it to be shovel-ready. We just don't have the plans. We told them in the application what we wanted done, what we want to do, but we don't have a set of plans showing it. So that's the next step we have to take. So I'll just have to get a price to see what it costs to do that.
Okay,
Okay?
all right.
Thanks for following up with that, Gary. Thank you for following
You're
up
welcome.
with that.
Thank you. Thank Mr. Williams for bringing it to my attention, as he always does. So,
As he just randomly trolls, I think it was on a DEP site, you
Yeah.
found it, right?
Yeah.
You just-
It was Doug Briggs that handed it to me on RDIC meeting.
Oh.
He found it.
yeah,
good.
it went through every step but the governor's signature,
The right.
Mr. Patrick. So.
Well, thank you all.
So, you just have a couple of things here. I don't know. I didn't put these on the agenda, so I don't know what you need to know about Charnock, but Charnock is complete with the exception of the backfill of the pavement and some driveway repair work, which I did talk to the contractor today, and they fully understand and are being responsible and fixing those problems. Other than that, I believe, because I was there, and also the foreman was there checking the site, that it is and does exceed pre-existing conditions. So I'm very happy with the leveling course, which was 1 to 3 inches, and a 1.5 inch top coat, which is what we use in a town when we do a road. So I'm very happy with it. I've received a number of calls complimenting the paver and the way it was done. So I had no issues with it, but I didn't know if you folks had questions.
the width is good? They went end to end the way they were.
They went beyond, they went to where I told them to go to the seam by the tunnel, by the rail trail.
Okay, but the width of the road is
The width of
where
the
you
road
wanted it to
is
be?
all, everything's fine, yes.
And how are the ditches on either side? Because I think we had water issues, right, on Charnock. Did they put down trap rock or?
They put down millings, compacted millings, to make sure that we had the 22-foot width. And the pea stone you see is just for country
Stone.
drainage.
Okay.
And under the pea stone, I'm sorry, is 4-inch perforated pipe for the entire length, which we had initially.
Oh.
They took it up during construction and replaced it with new, so that's in the ground.
4-inch perforated, so there's like French drains going down the
No,
side
it's ADS perf. That's all it is.
ADS.
ADS,
Okay.
Advanced Drainage System Perforated Pipe.
Ah.
Okay?
Yeah. I just have one more question, and I mean, it's really more for future reference for us, I guess, moving forward. I think the one goal we all had was to make sure that it didn't interfere with school starting, and of course it ended up interfering with school starting. What would you recommend for us for the future to avoid that? Just, should we have, in retrospect, said to the contractor, no, please wait a few more days? Or obviously you had, calls that they were available, and so everybody kind of jumped on it.
Scheduling with a contractor for any kind of construction, even for us, you've seen that we were paving Maple.
Right.
How many, 10, 8, 9 years ago on Halloween. So it's very hard. They do their schedule early. A lot of times Chapter 90 funds aren't allocated for late. And I know you remember I've been asking you several meetings in a row if you ever received a letter that we were ever approved or for that $377,000, which I have since found out we were. But I always have to wait till those funds are officially released before I can start hiring contractors to do the job, because I can't apply for Chapter 90 funds if they're not there.
But this wasn't Chapter 90.
This was not Chapter 90, no, but correct, but they still have to use a contractor who does a lot of Chapter 90 work, by the way, but they still have their schedules to abide by.
Do you think, again, in retrospect, hindsight 2020, would they have agreed to start later so they wouldn't have affected so many commuters? I think it seemed like a snowball effect, right? The buses were out for the first few days. They were causing issues to begin with. They had their own internal issues. It made traffic worse because everybody's back from vacation going to regular jobs. So we definitely had bus issues on those routes, those first days. Construction didn't help. I don't think it was
doesn't,
the
and
only.
I agree.
So again, is it something where you feel like you can say to a contractor, we understand that you're here this day, but it's a fairly small job. Do you have to start at 7 a.m.? Could you have started at 9:30, which is usually their break time?
It wasn't that small of a job to do that in the time frame that we allotted them to get it done,
Yeah.
which was 2 days. So, but it is all about scheduling. It's just that it was a last minute type of thing. Let's get it done now. And construction is like that everywhere. It always is an inconvenience to someone.
And total completion date? So they've still got some punch list stuff to do?
Oh yeah, I checked with them this morning, checked with the contractor, and they are doing actually a play-by-play of what I go down and inspect and tell them that they have to get done. So I don't have a total completion date, but the roadway surface is complete. It's just a backfill.
Okay. And are we lining it or are they lining it? Or is it already lined?
We're not, no, it
Right.
wasn't, no, Charnock was never lined.
Okay.
No,
So
we've
they're
never-
not lining it?
No, they're not. I mean, we can get it done certainly next year, but Charnock has never been lined.
Okay.
Believe it or not, that was one of the roads I did put in to have lined, but people complain because now people think it's a highway. Same issue I did when I lined Kenwood for the first time, and the reason I did that was because it's a race route, and it is a cut through. So.
Okay. Does anybody have any other? We're good?
Yeah.
Onward.
Okay. The next thing somebody put down is the playground.
Yeah.
So I'll just tell you this, that the fence was removed today by DPW staff, so that is now gone. And I've also, I guess I really don't know where we stand as far as replacing the fence. Now, I did get the handbook. I understand if we don't have a fence, it's okay. As I told Mr. Reed today, when he asked my opinion is that a fence should be there, because I just worry about the kids running down to 15 feet of a traveled way. You always lose sight of your kids. But that being said, if the town doesn't want a fence there, the town won't have a fence there. But we'll have to put some kind of barrier up to contain the playground mulch once we put it in, or else it's just going to be all over the place. So.
Did you leave the posts or did you take
Post,
everything?
everything's gone.
Everything's
I
gone.
can't leave a post that's,
Okay.
but the last thing I can do is have somebody start jumping around and swinging on posts and become impaled. So everything's coming out.
Okay.
What's the estimated cost for the refencing? I
We
think that
had, we
was-
had two costs, and this was, probably about a year and a half ago. I am waiting for an updated cost, but it was like $9,000 for repair and up to about, I think it was about 13 for replacement.
Okay. And the replacement included the bottom.
Like, we gotta have the bottom runner because that's what gets kicked out. That's what people bend, the kids bend and crawl underneath. And it's a heavier gauge post and a heavier gauge, cyclone fence.
Is that something we can have ready to see if it can get on fall town meeting?
Sure.
I mean, we have no sense yet of where free cash is or whether
Right.
it would be available, you know.
Right, but we can have it ready. I can have it's below the threshold for actually having to go out to bid. I did get it from a local company who works in town, has done work for us before, so certainly I can have that for town meeting.
Okay.
We don't have a date yet for town meeting anyway, right? Okay.
So
Okay.
in the interim, is this what about hay bales? To your point about the mulch, what if we put a line of hay bales on that where the hill is?
No.
The side closest to Memorial Drive? You think no?
I think you'll have hay all over the
Hay
place.
bales only held together with some twine.
Twine.
True.
That'll be all over the place.
twine and the hay will be everywhere.
Okay, but then we have hay everywhere. I mean, our
I'd be worried about
Dan-
fire.
fire?
Well, kids up there, I don't know.
God,
Yeah.
they're gonna, okay. Wait, what?
First rain will take care of that.
Yeah.
Perfect for tonight.
Okay, so no.
I would
The
say
other
no.
option would be like snow fencing, or the orange.
No, it's either put in what should be there if we have a fence there or nothing.
Okay.
I prefer having the fence there. That's my preference.
No, I agree. I want a fence that works and
I think
isn't.
she's talking about the interim.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excuse me. When would more mulch be going down? Because that's the concern right now, right? If more mulch
Yeah,
goes
I don't think
down
we'd
and-
really, when we've done it before, we've done it in the spring.
Okay,
Once the season gets started, not much sense to put it in when winter's coming.
right.
And we basically got 6 weeks left of playground weather, which was sort of why I suggested the hay bales. But if somebody thinks they're going to get caught on fire, then I don't know.
I don't know so much about the fire, and those are compacted
Gonna
pretty
look like
tight,
a
and
mess.
they'll stay wet and they'll hold the moisture, but I'm more concerned about just being spread all over the place and as far as being in the road, like Skip said, just a couple of pieces of twine. You kick a hay bale, you bust the twine.
And then there's,
Oh,
I'm still
and-
not seeing the real downside. Just some
You're
hay,
not? Oh.
just some hay around.
Okay.
No, no, no.
It'll look like hell.
Look what, well, Sheila, just look at,
Like hell already.
But look
And it
what
was
happened to the
dangerous.
fence.
At least the hay bales aren't dangerous.
whoever was playing with or toying with or ruining the fence is gonna take those hay bales and kick them down into the road. I mean, just look what happened. It's gotta be put, if you have something there, it's gotta be put securely.
Okay, so we're doing nothing until we hopefully get a new, better, strong,
Correct.
safe fence. Okay, great. And then the other playground.
I checked the location today, the stakes are fine.
They are.
Yeah, it's in good shape. Well, we'll just have to arrange, and I think I believe is you have volunteers that take that apart and install.
I mean, this
All
is.
we have to do is ready the site.
Yeah, I'm kind of just the messenger here, but yeah, so is everybody aware? I think this was before our 2 new members,
Yeah.
yes? Yeah. So there is a playground on the old Heifer property that was donated by friends of a woman who had passed away from up in Leominster. It was literally installed, and then I think a month later, Heifer announced that they were divesting the property. The community that donated it would like to donate it to the town of Rutland, which was wonderful. That was approved. We looked at several sites. The one that was, I think, universally agreed on, because you were there, Skip was, I think, there that day, was to ensure that it was not in the location of the old playground equipment, which was right behind the community center, and the kids were crossing that parking area in order to get over to it. I think there had been talk at one point of having to move the sheds that are there, if you know, yeah. And when they measured the play structure itself, it's bigger than I think anybody thought. And with the additional 10 feet on all sides needed to go past the footprint, they're at 46 by 36 feet. So right now, and it sounds like you looked at it, it is flagged to be on the end of the tree line at the far end of that field. So the farthest away from the community center building actually that you can get without kind of getting onto the,
So closer to the Glenwood driveway.
yeah, yep. The resident who has been spearheading this is out looking for donations or a better price for the playground mulch. She has been made aware of the depth that she's required based on the height of the structure, which is a minimum of 10 inches, I think is what they're going with. The measurements, again, meet that 10 feet in all directions. I think one of the people who has volunteered to help prep the site actually works for the Holden DPW. So I think, I'm sort of looking forward to the fact that we have people who, know what the situation is sort of from the municipal standpoint. They did raise a certain amount of money. I don't know that amount off the top of my head. They raised it. Becky had set up an account for them through the town, so they were getting donations through that. The resident was also going to contact the company that initially installed it to find out if there is an ADA compliant piece of equipment that can be added or substituted in there to allow for that. And I think we're just at the point of them, they have approval for site, and I think they just don't want to get started until they know they've got the mulch, because I sort of said, and you guys can totally override me, I don't think we want that thing installed on town property and not have the surfacing down. You can, right? Is that fair?
Mulch, I would even, I would have no objection to just putting sand in there either. So, I mean, up here, you called for playground mulch, and that's what we got.
I thought the sand wasn't allowed. I'm hearing pea stone is allowed, which sounds
Oh, no,
crazy.
definitely
to
not
me.
pea stone.
Well,
No,
it's
definitely not pea
one
stone.
of the allowable surfaces, which sounds.
Throwables. Sand, I'd rather have sand than pea stone
Yeah, stone's not a good idea.
being thrown.
I thought the issue with sand was the ADA compliance piece, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, the rolling.
Mhm.
No.
I don't know.
I prefer putting on the new rubberized surface, but
Yeah. Don't we all?
they have a very nice one at Burgess. Even I can bounce on it.
Yeah, I know. Those are nice. So that's where we are. Does anybody have any questions? So this is proceeding. They're just not quite ready. There's a question. Yes.
If it's any help to you, if I can use the front end loader on the tractor to pick it up and have you guys drive a trailer under it or something like that, if I can help you.
Oh, thank you, but I think it would still have to go in pieces. It's
In
too wide to
pieces?
fit on a trailer, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's gonna be a lengthy process. Excuse me?
Wait a minute, we're not supposed to be moving this.
No, we're supposed to be taken apart by volunteers. And
By
then
volunteers,
yes,
okay.
Yes. That's what I'm led to believe. So Mr. Williams is volunteering.
So Mr. Williams, we will get you on the email
Okay.
chain with the people who are doing all the work. How's that? All right. And did you have anything to convey, and we'll start this email going, I guess, now that we've heard this. Did you have anything to convey to the volunteers relative to what they need to be doing? You liked where they laid it out? Is there
I
anything
like
they
the
need
way
to be
it's laid out.
careful
We're
of?
gonna have to go in there, somebody's gonna have to go in there with a brush hog and
No,
knock that.
they actually are doing it.
I
And
saw just a pathway that's cut to where the site is, but nothing on either side of it is cut.
No, that pathway was already there. They laid this out on, I don't even know, Thursday afternoon or Friday. The path was already there, and I don't really know why that mode path was there.
I don't either. It's the
But
first time I've noticed it.
specifically said they were coming in with a truck, they were pulling out all of that invasive stuff that's there, all that ground cover, and they were taking it with them. I was kind of excited.
And the milkweed too.
No, I didn't see any milkweed in that location. There's milkweed to the right, but that's funny you bring that up. What? Yeah, there's a lot of bittersweet. Did you see the location where they're gonna put it?
No, I did not.
Okay.
Well, if you're gonna be chair of that committee, I suggest you.
Say what?
Any playground questions? Did you have anything else, Gary?
Only, the item that, it's not on the agenda, but I thought it was gonna be put on the agenda, and that's the paperwork that I gave Mr. Reed as far as the, union and legal approved agreement.
It is on the agenda. It's executive session.
Oh, I don't see it here,
You're gonna
though.
stay for that?
No, that's not what that is. Mr. Reed was contacted, by AFSCME to begin negotiations, but I don't believe that's
Oh.
the signing of the agreement. I don't think. Yeah, it says preparation for negotiations for executive session. Not the signing of the agreement, right?
It's all set. This is executive session.
Okay. I'm confused then,
Why?
because that's not what that memo was for. That agreement is not for executive.
That was the opening of negotiations agreement?
No, the one he's talking about is hiring the help.
That's executive session.
Why?
Because reason two.
Maybe that was my idea, but I would just like to have things related to collective bargaining in executive session.
Okay.
It'll be very,
contract, so.
it can be very short.
Okay. Okay, then that's
Yeah?
all I have.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks, Gary.
So you're gonna want Gary to hang around for this executive session?
No, he doesn't need to.
Okay.
I didn't hear that.
Unless he wants to.
You can stay if
guess.
you want to, in other words.
Thank you. But the only other thing I see here, other than I know we have probably an open session, questions about water. The only thing, do you need me for anything for the superintendent search? Or is that just,
We always have a question for you.
I know you do, so.
Make yourself comfortable.
Yes, I should have asked.
You shouldn't have.
Should've just run while you could.
All right,
You'll never learn.
beginning of a new era, town administrator report, Mr. Robert Reed.
Did you want to do the chief first? Or is he considered part of the report? I guess I assumed that it was, since it's a bullet under there.
Yeah, since his name's not listed on the agenda, I don't even know why you're here. No, I'm just kidding.
I was asked by the town administrator to be here.
All right, well, off we go. You guys can share?
Sure.
I can announce you too.
Okay, through the administrator, I'll speak.
Great.
Okay.
Fire Chief Seth Knight,
All right.
welcome.
On the agenda, under the administrator's report, is the signing of the purchase order to purchase a new ambulance that was approved at the May town meeting. Back the end of town meeting, first week of June, we formed a committee within the fire department of 5 members, not including myself. I gave the members a charge to go ahead and start pursuing getting specifications and meeting with certain vendors that were on the state bid list for procurement to determine what they really wanted, and they're the ones working on it and working with it every day. I had specific items that I wanted to be checked off as far as warranty and service centers and things of that nature for the longevity of the vehicle. The committee met with several vendors. They narrowed it down to 2, put the 2 through some pretty good paces, and finally came up with a vendor to recommend for purchase. The purchase is through New England Fire Apparatus out of North Haven, Connecticut. The purchase price after the trade of the 2008 GMC is $204,276. The purchase order is in front of you this evening. Basically, I'm just looking for the authorization for the administrator to sign the purchase order and to sign the letter of intent with the company. The estimated delivery time is 260 days. So, won't be here till spring. That's all I got. Town meeting approved 265. So again, the ambulance was $204,276. The stretcher that goes in the back will be an additional $42,235, and the remaining balances will be used for radios.
The specifications in the, in this proposed ambulance is what you want?
Yes, I reviewed them.
You reviewed
I
everything?
reviewed everything, and it meets the requirements of what we're looking for. I commend the committee for doing a good job, and that way I'm completely out of it. If they don't like it, they designed it. So.
So relative to our newest one, is this one the same size, bigger,
Same size.
smaller?
Same size, 4-wheel drive.
Okay.
Yep.
So if the chief is good with it, I'm good with it.
We have a couple spelling issues on it.
I didn't spell it.
2018 Dogdy.
Well, I didn't write that, did I?
It's a new brand.
Guess so. Oh, look at that. Oh, anyway.
Make sure they don't pull a fast one on you
Yeah.
and give you the old
Spelled
dog
ambulance
knee.
wrong, too.
Yeah.
Hey.
Just saying.
Okay. Anything else, sir? Okay.
No.
Okay, could I get a motion?
Make a motion to, I guess we're authorizing the town administrator to sign the purchase order of the proposed ambulance, the 2018 Dog D, 5500 Type 1 ambulance as presented to the board.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
There's actually nothing for us to sign here.
No, just Bob.
Okay, so we're good.
All right. Was there anything else tonight, Bob?
Just a few items, and Gary is involved in some of these as well. We had a meeting here last week with the librarian. There's been a lot of discussion and some correspondence about water infiltration into the library, so we looked at 3 different locations, both right here, which seems to be the predominant one of concern. The equipment room, I guess that's what it's called, where some of the utilities come into the building, and then above it, which you can see at ground level, besides the door that's to the left as you're facing the building. I think if you fix the ladder, then I suspect that you'll fix any water infiltration that's been coming into the equipment room because it's right above it. So I'm sure when Gary's able to put it into his schedule, then we'll have remedied this issue, which I think is also a concern of the Cable Commission. You know that also, so.
Yeah, and also, you know, we did pick up 2 French drains today, 42-inch French drains to install and tap it right into the perimeter drainage that goes into the catch basin, and the other one goes off to the bank, so we did pick that up today.
Right.
And I think you're right. I agree with you after looking at it a little closer, because I really wasn't aware of a problem on that threshold for that door. I knew we had a problem coming in, and I just assumed it was coming in through the conduits, but I think that'll take care of most of, if not all, of the water problem on both doors.
Mark?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Can I ask a question about the other concern was this back door here, right? The water's coming in there. Is that French drain, gutters? What? I think we had talked about just having the slab here removed.
Yeah, I think Skip actually brought that up and described it best, because of the heaving, the slab has actually been risen on the outside and tilts towards the building. So we'll take that out, put a French drain in, and then just put pavers or whatever we have to do in place of the doorway.
Okay.
So we had a conversation, actually, I think you brought it up, about sandbags. Are we going to have more water coming into this building tonight with the rain? Because I don't think.
We're not supposed to get a heavy rain, and those were really
Those were
during
heavy.
downpours.
Okay.
So certainly, hopefully not.
All right. Yeah.
Marshfield, so I know has been an item of concern. The ad's been placed in the central register. That has to be in for 30 days before RFPs are picked up. Gary and I will be sitting down and putting the finishing touches on the RFP tomorrow. I've since heard from Margaret, and she says that the RFP had been reviewed by council, so should be in final shape. We'll be working on the lease also, so putting an ad in the newspapers, but with 30 days, because of the timeline that's required, there's time for that, so that's moving forward as well.
Excuse me?
Yes.
To the chair.
Yeah.
I had brought up before about Marshfield, the liability, because it was a dump. And Margaret I thought was gonna ask about that, town council, whether there should be an item in that RFP, that the town will not be held liable. Or something like that. I brought it up several months ago, or I thought.
I thought you asked about a soil testing.
Soil testing or something like that, yeah. Because it was a dump, and I had been told that there were occasions when stuff used to come to the rise to the top, once in a while, so.
You working with town council, Bob, on that?
It sounds like I will be. I'll have to go back and review the RFP again, and then may get in touch with Margaret again, but I'll follow up on that.
Thank you.
Dick, do you know if anything was said on the onset of the lease when the field was built however many years ago, if soil testing had to be completed prior to anything being built on that?
Not that I know of, but I do know that quite some time ago, they had a real problem and they had to go back in there and recover it because so much stuff had come, or, stuff disappeared, the dirt disappeared down into the dump itself. And
How
There
far
are no
back
test
do we go?
sports in that field.
that, I'm gonna have to say, like 15 years ago, or, it was quite some time ago,
But
yes.
there's no test sports, there's nothing
No.
like there was at the old dump on Charnock.
No.
Okay.
Sort of a friendly reminder, no action on it tonight, but in speaking with Margaret, I guess there had been some personnel policies or update to the personnel policies forwarded to the board, so, when the board is ready, schedule that for a selectmen's meeting and continue that.
Can we put that on the next agenda, Abby, for action? So does everybody have that? They were emailed to you? I can find them if you want. Or we can resend them one more time?
Resend them.
Yeah.
Okay. And also on the discussion at your last meeting, when Mike was here about the communications center move, we've set up, or I've set up with Gary, Anita will be part of it, treasurer, and probably the new town planner. The working group to begin looking at this, looking at options. Just, you know, the more, it seems like the more we get into it, the more I've gotten into it, the more questions we have, the ramifications of moving over to this building, or just what the issues might be with any other alternatives. I know Mike is having a space planner come in and looking at this building for possibly the basement. This is another item that we'd thrown out, as well as looking at moving fiber. So a lot of things to look at, and I'll follow up later with the board, because you know, we'll soon be getting into cost estimates, what standards we'll have for moving over here, what we expect it to look like, et cetera, potential ADA issues. So that'll all be brought up. But anyway, to deal with that particular issue, I think this working group is a good way to go about it and keep addressing this issue.
Just to be clear, you said this building, but you meant the community hall, right? You didn't mean the
Oh,
library.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yes, I know where I am.
Yeah.
Well, there is space on the other half there that was discussed.
Yeah. Question.
Yeah.
On on the movable, please don't forget, I do believe that standby generator only does the police and fire. It does not do the annex. So if they move the dispatch center into the annex, there's no standby electricity.
But there will have to be.
There will have to be, you sure?
The town hall has a generator.
Small one?
There will have, if the
Yeah.
dispatch works, moves into the annex, there will have to be
I'm
generators.
just saying it, you know, I'm just pointing it out.
Generator's big enough.
And the generator is big enough, but you'll have to have a separate,
Conduit's already there. Conduit's already under the ground.
but not the switch.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Question. Do we know how many square feet the other half that's currently being used as storage in this basement? Do you know the square footage of that storage room?
Not offhand, but we just certainly have to measure it up.
How do you think it is compared to the annex overall square feet?
I think it's pretty close.
About the same.
About the same. Could storage, could the stuff that's being stored over there currently be brought to the ceiling of the community hall? Then you have ADA compliant space over there for other offices, or, I don't know. Might be more comfortable. Something to look at, maybe, for the working group?
We just, yeah, absolutely.
You
We
know,
clearly
Would that
have
to be brought
space in town
To
and
the
stuff.
trustees, Sheila? Does that, I would imagine, right?
I mean, I
They're gonna be
think,
part of that group anyway, aren't they, the trustees?
Not yet.
About this building, absolutely.
there was no discussion about rec coming to this building, so that's what he was,
Oh,
yeah,
No, but there was
Not
quite a bit
previous.
about displaced
right.
boards.
Right.
and we did talk about that back room.
You know, the other option for that room would be getting all of our voting here at the library and having all 3 precincts here to finish off that room and make it open and usable for groups, including the 3 precincts. There's a lot of options for that room. I know you like it, it's got a good view. I know. You have an Adnock, it's very pretty.
No, you can't see it because of some trees that are in the way.
Well, I know that something that came up at an earlier meeting, I think you might have brought it up, is using some space in this building for storage. And in my short time here, I know that's quite an issue with finding space for storage of plans and records and so forth, and was gonna talk to the librarian at least about that.
Anita's here too. That's where the storage is up, you know, she's in charge of that.
I am.
Dump it on her.
All right,
I
so-
know what's there, none of it's mine.
So the bottom line, after the last set of discussions we had, and there was talk of putting together sort of an ad hoc group or a task force, Bob kind of took the lead, and he's got that working group going, which hopefully will move things, keep
Mhm.
things moving, keep us posted.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, there are some timelines, and I know the next grant that Mike would be applying for is in the spring, but I think, you know, that'll be here before we know it, and there's a heck of a lot of work to get done before then.
Anything else?
That's all I have.
Oh, all right. And that segued over into new business because that was the building committee. going along with that, we had talked about the sort of immediate building committee concerns, which he's gonna take on as a task force within, his purview. The other thing we keep discussing that, I just want everybody to sort of put final thoughts into is the structure of what Margaret had talked about before she left, which is that committee that's going to look overall at all of the town assets, buildings, properties, etc. And I want to say, as the two of you were sort of overlapping at the end, it seemed like where we were headed was actually some combination of a committee of volunteers being assisted by a professional who was going to help with this audit. So I don't know how long it might take that we could get some information on some possible companies that can do that type of job or a contractor. And that'll set our timeline for getting that committee together.
Okay.
And cost, right?
And cost. Always the cost. Yep. Any questions? You good with that? Okay. The next thing on the agenda is that the HPTDD Rutland Heights Solar Project Roundtable, which is scheduled for the 12th. I've seen a couple of responses on that. This is meant to be an update meeting. We don't all need to be there. We did post it just in case, right, Abby? Did we post that
That's
one?
Wednesday?
We didn't post that one. We posted tomorrow. Okay, yeah, we didn't post it, so we can't have everybody. Wednesday.
That's all right.
That's for this Wednesday.
You're busy.
Yep.
Okay. All
I
right.
didn't have it on my calendar. I was gonna go to the, school committee one tomorrow.
Yep. Okay. Again, this is really just an update, and this was Mr. Sullivan wanting to make sure that all of the different agencies were being kept in the loop. It is, at this point, a little bit less about our office, I would say, and more about keeping them going.
Are we represented?
I'm going, but somebody else can go too. Actually, we can all go. We simply can't have a discussion if we're a quorum there, yeah.
I didn't realize that it was the round table. I saw that it was posted on the town website, but that was it.
Yep.
And so I was going to try to make it depending on scheduling of everything, but I couldn't commit just because I'm the liaison also.
Right.
So I was going to try to make it.
Well, that would be fine if it's just two of you.
Yep.
So.
Okay. And then under the last thing, we have the Wachusett District Budget discussion. That meeting is tomorrow night in Holden. I think everybody got the forwarding of the emails from Peter Lukes, who has a pretty strict schedule going and a list of objectives. And they've actually gotten their moderator, who's going to run the meeting for the 5 towns, to make it as sort of above board as possible. And I know you met today with the town administrators. I don't know if you want to add anything. My expectation tomorrow is the discussion is going to be pretty high level relative to next year, the upcoming year's budget.
I think so, and it is a meeting that's intended to be for the communities. The schools, it's an open meeting, but as you said, there's some strict rules that'll be followed, and they'd have to be recognized by the moderator.
Yep. So, Tom Rashala is going to be going from our finance committee. I will be there. We're all being given time to speak. Does any member of the board have any specific message that they want me to convey as part of our general message? Which is pretty standard. Okay. Anybody in the audience? No? We have a school committee member here? No. Okay. All right, that was that. Under old business, we have the town administrator search first. So, one of the things when we last met that we didn't do was have any conversation about the candidates. And I know you've had a chance to
I did.
watch the video, all 3?
Yes, yes, I'm all caught up.
Great. So, based on our first pass at this, what's everybody's feelings?
Well, we had a withdrawal, so the second candidate withdrew.
Yeah.
Any conversation?
Sorry?
Do we have any feedback on that?
I got the impression that the candidate, and I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, the people who were here and you watched it, it was clear, and she certainly didn't try to hide it, that she didn't have any finance experience.
Okay.
And she just felt that that was something that the board was going to look for as a primary goal, and that she didn't meet our criteria.
Wasn't for her. Wasn't a good fit for her.
Yeah. I'm not sure that she did it because she felt it wasn't a good fit for her, or because she felt that we wouldn't have considered her. I
Okay.
couldn't say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, unfortunate as it is, we're down to two.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, 2 that we interviewed.
Yeah.
Anyone?
Well, my thoughts are that the candidate should be someone that can step right into the position. Shouldn't be someone that's gonna come in here and learn the position. Yeah,
Right.
that's kind of what we were looking at the other night. We need somebody that can just basically step into Margaret's shoes and continue what she's already laid out.
Are you saying those other remaining 2 candidates didn't have that?
They don't
You
have,
weren't seeing it?
they didn't have everything we need. They don't have the background, the experience, the whole package.
Okay.
That was my thought.
Skip.
Yep, I didn't think either one of them was, none of them had any finance, none. Even the first one, which was the town administrator from the Cape area, but he didn't deal with a town this size. He was not. Could he learn? Probably could, but we
Well, a lot
don't.
of the things that he had responsibility for actually went off to committees.
Yeah.
They had a personnel committee, they had a finance committee that did all the financial aspects. So he wasn't involved in it. He wasn't involved in personnel aspects of the town. I don't know how many other committees, I just remember the finance and the personnel distinctly.
Well, he's not gonna be a close fit to Rutland. He just wants to get off the island. He's probably has other applications pending. And depending on where he builds, not sure that he would have some longevity here, and you might have that issue with the third candidate who lives in Leominster, although I do like the idea that he was former town council. Kind of get a twofer there a little bit, somebody with attorney experience. But I noted that he didn't.
We already have a town council.
He didn't mention, right, he didn't mention a whole lot of managerial experience, that he was a supervisor, that he had been a supervisor. So, again, I'm not sure that he would be the best fit for the town, living in Leominster. I kind of got the sense that this would just be further experience for someone who's gonna, again, leave and would be going through this in 2 more years, so.
My concern with the third candidate was that he had a lot of town council experience, but how did that translate to being a representative for the town and not for the parties sometimes that the town may have, I don't want to say issues with, but need to negotiate with or whatever. And yeah, the first candidate, I was a little bit hesitant, just given while he has the town administrator experience, it doesn't seem to be such an active town administrator role that we're looking for. So, yeah, I can't say that either one of the 2 really were that I felt strongly for.
I don't think we're in a position to eliminate them, but I think we should expand our search.
We're not in a position to, really? You want to keep it open and okay.
That's my feeling.
I think in a pinch, I'd prefer the third gentleman, with the town council experience, and then his chief procurement officer, he said was comparable or close to the duties. I think in a pinch, I mean,
Well, we're not in a pinch because we
we're
have
not in a
Bob.
pinch. Right.
So luckily, I'll be honest, I was most impressed with Ms. Donahue. She had some ideas and some knowledge, and she had done her research about this town, and it was just really great. And I feel like had we been set up in a different way, if we had a finance director, full-time accountant, somebody that could see her through that learning process, and I do think she's fully capable of learning it, that would have been that would be a different conversation. I don't know that that's something we can set up, and it would mean that, especially in a first budget season, unless she had a mentor, it would be really rough. a very, very rough budget season for everybody, especially her. I don't know, and I know you sat in the back. I would echo what Skip said about the other two candidates, and I'd be perfectly honest. I think I'd be prepared to thank them and decline. I think the first candidate, I had some red flags when he started talking about new growth, and he had a sort of profound lack of knowledge of the area and Rutland's issues that really struck me. Certainly some of these things can be learned, but again, you're coming to this community, and I would have thought he would have a little bit more knowledge about Worcester County. And then the third, I see where you're headed with the legal background, but I didn't see somebody who had done any municipal management, and some of the answers he gave on finance were striking. It was just clear it was just nothing that he had really delved into. So we'd have the same issues with him without the benefit of some of the high-level planning background that Megan had. So yeah. And to your point, of course we heard from her the next day about the withdrawal. So.
But the third candidate said he would not do any legal. He
Correct.
said that.
He did.
Right.
He would not do any,
Which
none whatsoever. So
We're not asking him to, but he's got the background, is my point.
Yeah.
He knows the process. He knows,
he knows the process, but he'd still have to do like Bob, bring it to our town council, have it approved or disapproved.
right, right.
So,
But he knows what makes a town run, I think.
no, he didn't.
You don't think so?
No.
Absent the financial part?
He only knew the legal side. He had
Yeah.
worked with a lot of regional school districts. That was probably the one
Yeah, that was the
benefit
only plus part that I saw.
from a legal perspective, but no, he didn't
Okay.
really have any. And doing procurement in Natick, it wasn't setting him up to come here and be that number one umbrella in charge of multiple departments. I mean,
Okay.
I think if we had asked him anything about DPW, there would have been nothing. We didn't, so who knows? To that point, I know Bob has been pressing. I don't know if he wants to leave sooner than he told us. We probably need, moving forward, to make a decision. Obviously, with Margaret, before the two of you came, we hired Collins Center. They are state funded. They're based out of UMass Boston, and there was a cost involved there. They did a community profile for us, which we of course still have. There are other options. We've obviously already contracted with MRI. I guess there's a couple others out there. We could certainly have those companies come in and present to us if we want to contract this out again. We can repost and just kind of wing it on our own for a little bit. I don't know if that's an option.
Well, we talked about the last meeting, right? MRI was about $3,500.
No, that's for DPW. That's the DPW search number.
Well, how much is the TA gonna cost?
About 95.
95, okay.
Collins cost us 11, Skip, does that sound right?
11 or 12.
Yep. Oh, go ahead.
If I could, I think, just my opinion, I think Rutland has done its due diligence,
Yeah.
as they say. I think you've tried, you've taken the first step, you've done your advertising, you tried to handle it internally. You are where you are. I think communities have reached the point where, and even communities the size of Rutland, smaller, are going with search firms. When I was interim in Princeton, in Upton, they hired firms. I think that with the experience that they have, all of the recruitment that they do, for example, they may have a pool of candidates for one particular town, and they decide that these candidates, maybe they're not a fit for that particular town, but they could be a fit for Rutland or another town. And they advertise a little more broadly. So I think that, just my opinion, I think you may be ready to bring in a firm, to have someone who can hit the ground running. I know that back to Princeton and Upton, I was involved in assisting the firms and was impressed with the field that they had. And I think more than one person that applied for those positions could have done the job. So, hopefully a search firm would put you in that position as well.
And that is where Collins left us. Their whole goal when they came in was, we're going to give you finalists. They should all be, fully qualified, and it's really just a question of fit at that point. Now,
But
we actually failed with the first whole
I was
search
gonna
because
say,
the
first
yeah.
group they sent was
first group was not ideal.
Right.
And the person we eventually offered the job to ended up declining, so we had to start over. And you see that if you look through our minutes in the sort of restart process and reposting. So
I think Bob nailed it. I mean, we did due diligence. We took a free look at it and a free interview, and
Yep.
and we're not overjoyed. So that's the way it is. Do we have $9,500 to pay for the MRI?
well,
Go to the finance committee.
I mean, we have line item money within the town administrator budget, but it's going to be something that we need to take a serious look at fall town meeting, because we're going to be talking about possible overlap, search costs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Can we do?
I think we need to find it.
Well, bear in mind, Margaret's recommendation before we left was to make the budget whole relative to the cuts that we took at annual town meeting. So there's that as well. That number can be we can take another look at it, but that's going to make whole the salary that was initially plugged in, even for that position, for the town administrator position.
We can always repost it also, right? So what you're saying it.
I think we talked about this a little bit last week, is posting it, there's an expense for even the town to post it on our own. It's nowhere near the 9,500.
$300 or something.
But I'm kind of the mindset, it's our second ever town administrator position. We have a lot of balls in the air, and we need to have someone that has that strong background that can keep us going. And I don't know that we found those candidates. I don't feel we found those candidates on our own.
Mhm.
And I'd kind of like to know that there's some sort of forward progress being made. So I'm leaning towards the search, coming up with the money to fund that. But I don't know how that money situation's gonna shake out. I mean, that's the struggle.
Yeah, you find the money. I mean, bear in mind, we knocked this around for 8 years, saying we couldn't find the money to even hire a TA. Obviously, once we did, it was money well spent. This is another one of those situations, right, where and it was hard to come around to that. And I remember having these conversations with Skip in particular to spend that kind of money to do a professional search. But it eventually got us what we needed without a question. Took some time. And I agree. I think Bob probably has us going down the right road here. So, Bob, the question then is, how fast do you think we can, is this a special meeting that we set up where we interview some firms and pick one, go from there?
Well, that would be my opinion or recommendation. I guess it depends on the board schedule and how you feel. If it's not a special meeting, then it's another 2 weeks. But I think you'd be best served by bringing in, there is MRI, and they do this. There is the Collins Center, which you have experience with. There's another firm that's headed by a gentleman named Bernie Lynch, who has extensive management experience, and he's done recent searches. He did Shrewsbury. So I would recommend that if you do go that route, and if you do have interviews, that you bring in all three.
So,
I'd agree with that.
wait 2 weeks and bring them into our next regular meeting, or schedule something?
No.
No.
How are you gonna interview 3 different companies and do a complete meeting besides?
Just
No
asking.
way.
Okay.
No way.
That's not something Bob could do?
That's what I was I agree.
I mean,
We've got a town
let's give
administrator.
let's give the man some,
You gotta
some
know
authority here.
which ones are a little better than the other, and
Right.
I'm sorry, I could do as far as what?
Select the proper search company. But you conduct put the feelers out there, and you come back to the board with which search company you prefer.
We could do it that way. We could have another working group, maybe 2 members of the Board of Selectmen or somebody else in town, and have a committee like that. However you want to do it, I'd be perfectly happy to do it, or if you want to have a few other individuals involved, then we can, keep this moving.
You know more than any of us here. I feel comfortable with your judgment.
Well, you know the town.
So if we were looking at a special meeting
Mhm.
between now and 2 weeks is what we're coming down to. Is that the,
I mean, I would think it would be next Wednesday or
Monday.
Thursday, or Monday, yeah.
Monday.
Pretty
Yeah,
much
next Monday,
week.
yeah, next Monday.
But it will depend on their availability too.
I can start making the calls.
Or whatever, or let Bob handle it.
I think personally that Bob should say, hey, this is the company that I would prefer to see you guys use, because I know their background and I know what, you know.
Well,
That's me, but
I'm with you, Skip.
boards haven't always agreed with me in the past.
yeah, but I might not agree with you either, but this is your line of work,
Yeah.
town administrators, and this, you're guiding us well now. You wouldn't say to us,
In your 9 hours that you've been
Yeah.
here.
well,
I agree with Skip. I agree with Skip.
and I know what you did
Okay.
over in Princeton, so let's be real.
Time is of the essence.
So this is, I'm gonna put this out there, I have full confidence in Bob as well. This is a little unusual. Typically, he would be setting this up for us to at least meet these companies, and he might very well make a recommendation that night, but I'm fine with it. I'm just putting it out there. I don't know if you've ever done it that way. Now, in fairness, we told the Collins Center something similar. We didn't have a town administrator in place, and we said to Collins, we don't want anything to do with the preliminary portion of this search, bring us the finalists. So this is a version of that.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's something that can be worked out with each firm, is how you want to handle the search, whether you want to, I mean, to jump ahead to the DPW, there won't be a search committee involved there, and it's an expedited process, which is why the cost is lower. But that's all can be fleshed out, I suppose, as far as the town administrator search. I guess that I really do appreciate the confidence so quickly, but, you know, I've just found that in discussions with boards of selectmen after the interviews have been done, there are considerations that the board has that I've never thought of. I mean, you know the town, and they know what to ask, and they know what they're looking for in a firm, and sometimes it's a comfort level, sometimes it's based on what they say, but again, I appreciate the confidence, but I guess I'd be more comfortable with the process if a couple of selectmen were involved, or a couple other people were involved who know Rutland.
It's fine, too.
Yeah, that works.
Okay, so, I would love to be able to work with you on this. Is there another member that wants to be involved? This would be, I would think, mostly business day type work for the next, whatever, week or so? 2 weeks?
I mean, I'd be interested, but I can't do it schedule-wise, you know?
Well, we
Days
could
not-
still set it up for next Monday. I can, take a shot and invite them all in for next Monday and see if they could do that, if they all have that available, or I could talk to whoever's gonna be involved on the town side and see if there's another date if that doesn't work. But, I'm just looking at this and developing the interview questions and getting board input in that. If a board member isn't gonna be involved, they'd still have input, and, maybe they have some questions of the firm and how they're gonna handle it, and, why they're good for Rutland, and then taking it from there.
Okay, so are we going with then the interviewing firms, or are we going with Bob
Sounds like it.
interviews firms?
Sounds like if we can make arrangements, we can do it next Monday.
Okay,
A full board meeting, all of us, or just the two designees?
full board,
Full board.
if we can set it up.
If we're gonna do it, might as well be all of us.
So why don't we say next week? Monday might be a tall order. Are there any days that people simply cannot make? And then we'll just cross those off.
It's not the days, it's the time, so
Okay,
I'll be here.
okay.
Oh,
No.
are evenings bad?
Evenings are good.
Oh, okay.
We all work days.
Evenings are good. What
All
about
right.
you? Which days are you out in the evening? Any?
I'm off Mondays. Rest of the week, I get out 6:30, 7, whatever.
Okay, so you'd have to have a later start. Skip, are there any days
What's, yeah, I guess
for
so.
next week?
Wednesday, Thursday, well, whatever. Let's see what, we can work around it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I'll
All right.
work around
So
whatever.
Monday is ideal, just because everybody's used to
Right.
it, but
Yep. Monday's fine.
sounds like people are relatively open next week.
Great.
Okay.
And you wanted a later time? What did you say?
A later time works best for Wayne, so I
Right,
guess
7 o'clock works.
7 o'clock
Much
next
better.
Monday?
if we end up with 5 firms, that would be a really late start, so maybe we have to.
I'm thinking 3.
3.
3,
Okay.
5.
And,
I'm just saying, it would have been a big long, late.
You know, and they could be, depending on the board's feeling and the questions, they don't really have to be our interviews.
No.
Okay. Okay.
7 o'clock on the 17th.
Tentative.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I don't even know what day that is. Okay.
17th.
Anything else on the TA search for now? No? We're moving forward? So it looks like 17th.
Can we simultaneously start to look at the budgetary side of things and where we might be able to
I will.
pull
Yeah.
that? I know we had some conversation with Margaret at one point before, but I don't think it was ever anything finalized or anything. So.
Well, no, it's on the spreadsheet, the amount of money that's sort of available.
Right.
And again, it took into consideration the idea of making the budget whole
Right.
at fall town meeting. But yeah, I mean, depending on what now these firms tell us, it's a little bit of a different
Yeah.
situation.
If we're gonna do this Monday, I can do it at 6.
Yeah? 6?
You tell me. I'll be there.
6.
All right.
If it's Monday, otherwise 7.
Monday, yes. Otherwise, 7.
6, otherwise 7. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
So DPW search. Moving on. We voted at our last meeting to contract with Alan Gould, MRI, and it sounds like there's been a little bit of progress already.
Well, you have a contract.
We have a contract.
We're all set for MRI to get started and do the advertising. I've had a couple conversations with Alan.
Right.
And just one thing I wanted to mention, as with the town administrator search, you have some present candidates, and those will be considered. They'll be part of the mix, and will be, you know, at least considered by MRI along with everybody else.
At what, sorry.
Go ahead.
At what point do we get to see the existing resumes that have been submitted?
As soon as you want.
I mean, would it behoove us to take a look at them before we go spending money on a search committee? Maybe there's somebody that jumps out in front of us and we wanna
We've
take
already
another-
spent the money, I think. Or
Well, we've approved moving forward with MRI. I guess where, to your point, and this is a personal preference, I've always stayed away from the original resume pool coming in, just to see where we ended up. It kind of just, I felt like it kept me more objective. And I think the overall feel was that we didn't get a very large pool based on Margaret's input. And of course, as you know, she had a couple of people from outside the board kind of give a cursory scan to the resumes to see if there was something that really, to your point, really jumped out. And I think that's why Bob said, you know, we need to keep the ones that we got in the mix, but the pool wasn't really big enough to have a good consideration of such a big job.
And I think what I said earlier about the town administrator search is true for the DPW director search. Many of these firms also, I know specifically MRI does a lot of that as well. And by the same token, maybe somebody who isn't a fit for another town, they'll think of and could be a fit for Rutland.
How many applications did we get?
I think we got about 5. 4.
I don't know.
It was a small pool.
I'd like to see them first before we go spend our town money on a search committee. Maybe there's somebody that stands out that is worthy of an interview or an internal candidate. I don't know. It's an unknown. I don't know who's applying.
I think in terms of a competitive process, you'd be hard pressed to find enough candidates to go through an initial interview, even the way we did. I mean, and look what we ended up with town administrator. I can't honestly say that was, and we sort of knew going in that was a strong pool. And that was 16, yeah.
And so what if of the 4 resumes that were received, there was a strong candidate who was the perfect fit for us? What message does that send that we're gonna go ahead and keep looking anyways when they think they have an application landed with us?
I personally would want that person to win in a competitive process, and we won't know that until we get a complement of resumes that kind of runs the gamut.
Also, if I could, for what it's worth, I mean, with Margaret, I did look at the applicants, and my opinion is to go forward and expand the search.
Okay.
Did everybody have a chance to read the professional services agreement? I believe this has been reviewed, yes?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, council, and I would get a motion to sign.
Oh, I'm sorry, well, not by council, but it's a
No.
standard contract.
The standard contract that they've used in the other, okay.
Yeah, it's a fill in the blank deal, right?
Yeah.
So I'll make the motion to sign the contract for professional services with MRI for the search for the new DPW superintendent.
So this one was done up for the board signature, and you might notice there's some, amendments attached or addendum attached to it that could just be initialed, so there are 2 spots on, you have 2 originals.
Yep.
Second the motion.
Any more comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Okay. I'm gonna pass these down, I'll sign them after. So there's 2 originals, 2 places, 1 signature, 1 initial. Okay, there is nothing under correspondence. If I might, and I need to find it, I am going to just, because we have somebody here tonight, I just want to reference something that sort of came up today. We don't need to take action, but I do want to address it. Unfortunately, social media is part of our lives these days, and we had some resident questions come up about the kind of annual water quality issues we get with Mushkapog water. So I really appreciate that Neil Viner came in tonight. Neil, do you mind coming on up? Because I know you did some homework for us today. Came all the way here. So this is really just for public knowledge. And I did send an email to Neil early this morning that after this meeting, I guess we can get that out to the board so they can all see it, what the questions were. And I know, Neil, you got the questions. So, as you know, we'd had some online conversation, which of course we know where online conversations can go if they don't get addressed appropriately with facts, about Rutland water quality. And could you speak to Rutland quality in typical early September?
I will start off by saying our water is 100% safe to drink. Like you said, this is an issue comes up every year, sometimes earlier, sometimes later, where the pond turns over, depending on weather, the heat. It just gives the water a smell or a taste. And I can say I am on the water system, and I drink the water. I took a test tonight, and it was a little better. It seems like it's getting better. So we're trying to do everything we can to eliminate this problem, which I don't think we can ever eliminate it, but put some things into place, looking outside of the box, which haven't done before, with new technology to help keep this at a reasonable, less complaint type of deal. If you have any questions, or we can go through your questionnaire. I believe you had on here that the 2017 water report was incomplete on the website. That is a complete report. It's just the way they're printed out. There's 2 sides. So there was like an A.
Okay. It's very odd. It says pages 1, 2, and then the second attachment says page 34.
I think there should have been 3 and 4.
3, 4? Oh, maybe.
And in the past, you would also mention that 2012 was missing.
Mm-hmm.
Just recently, there's a couple ways we're mandated to send this out to the public. One is we always used to put it in a landmark. It was very expensive to do. So we've opted to go, and one of the ways to do it is to put it on the town website.
Yep.
To save some money.
Great.
So recently, I think we've done that the last 2 years. that we've done that.
Okay.
And others were just put on just as a informational.
Yeah, so we go back
Purpose.
to 11 and 12 is just a gap.
Just
If you
a gap.
have it, maybe you can send it over to Anita and she can,
We can do
because you don't
that.
have anybody at Water with access to the site, correct?
Correct.
Correct. She's, yeah, no? Okay. Okay.
What else do we have here? In regards to we had to, on this last CCR report, we had to put in there that we had a violation from 2016. The violation was that we missed the date to put it in. It has to be in by July 1st. And because we were trying to figure out the proper way to put it on the website, there's certain ways you have to get to it. So we were like 2 or 3 days late. So it was just a matter of just put it in your next CCI report, and
Okay.
that's why that was in there.
Great.
Our next report is due before July 1st, so we don't have to put it in there again that we missed that date. Let's see here. There was something regarding some soil that's a good distance away from the reservoir that we do testing ourselves every day. We haven't seen any rise in that.
Great.
We do our mandated tests monthly through DEP, which is bacteria, and there's different tests throughout the year. And if we failed any of those, we have to report it to our customers, depending on the violation, whether it's news, or just sometimes it's just putting it in the CCI report. What else here? The pond level at this time is a negative 7.5, and that was taken the end of August.
What does that mean?
It's minus 7.5 below the high water mark.
Okay.
And the average for that, since Holden has been out, is, the worst I can remember is approximately 34 inches below high water mark. Compared to when Holden was in there, it was 30 feet out, when you could actually drive a tractor trailer around the reservoir. Let's see. Some of the issues causing this, the taste and odor is, we've had the numerous days of 90 or above, so the temperature does affect it. Again, the turnover, the organic matter, as the water gets warmer, it kind of turns, so you get all that organic matter that comes up. And our filters, right now, we're putting out the same quality of water. It's just our filters we're doing, we usually do 1 backwash to 3 flushes. There's 2 parts to the filter system. There's a clarifier and a backwash and a sand filter. We usually do 3 to 1. Now we're doing 2, sometimes 1.5 to 1 of these to the backwash. So we're collecting a lot of organic matter, and which makes our days longer.
And that could add to the mustiness or the taste, you said?
Yeah.
Because of the extra
Because,
testing.
yep.
Which will end when?
Hopefully soon.
So people can
It's-
expect a change?
It's usually now that we got the colder days, we're gonna get the colder nights. We might get some warmer days thrown in there, but it's not gonna affect the water like it does now. So we've already seen the temperature of the water.
Okay.
I think we were up approximately 22 degrees Celsius. We're now like 20.9 degrees Celsius. So the water is cooling down. And regarding anything on the water department's spot on the town website, we can put informational.
That'd be great. Thank you.
things on here, like saying, reason why the water tastes like it does, we can put on for the next couple of weeks, it's gonna be,
I think it'd be helpful to say, hey, this is why we're doing these, the high temperature days and the extra flushing, which is expected to change within 1 week, 2 weeks, or whatever.
well, I'd hate to put a timeline, because Mother Nature is basically the one that dictates, takes that. And it was also a question on security.
I mean, that's an ongoing, just.
That's
as a
ongoing,
reminder.
and that's in the process. I'm waiting for
you.
some quotes on that.
And I think the last question, and I don't know that you can offer, I don't necessarily want a product placement, but do we do carbon filtering at our water treatment plant?
We have anthracite.
Anthracite. So when the residents who have whole house carbon filters, is there something that they should be doing that they're
don't
not
know.
doing? Okay. Okay.
I know we've had a couple calls, and I recommended, like the screw-in
Yeah.
cheaper versions.
Right, the under the, yeah.
Not knowing if they'd work, but it was the cheaper version, and I made it clear that I'm not sure.
Right. And I don't think we need to be in the business of recommending a particular product. I just wondered, I think there's granulated and solid carbon, and I'm wondering if one would work better with our specific pondy issues.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, so just for the board, obviously we have our water sewer moratorium in place. This was yet again one of those things that comes into play, and I did talk to Bob today, and Dick, you're here, so we'll bring it up again. There was talk about, there's been talk several times, about the well at Rutland Heights and what steps we need to take to find it, test it, do flow, figure out where it stands, and see if it's a viable option. And Bob reiterated the things that Margaret brought up, which was reaching out to MWRA, which we know we've taken the first steps in regards to the costs of tying into the Quabbin. Because obviously Mushkapog is it for us, and this is the well, I hate to say the easiest, but the easiest of the issues. There's no danger here, and yet, you still have people concerned.
And just to be clear, let's say that site is viable for a well, it's more of our backup. It's not to expand the water system. What we're really looking for is a second source of water,
Okay.
in my opinion.
In your opinion?
Yes.
So, and we've heard other opinions that say the flow coming out of that well is enough to power the whole, right? We've heard this.
This is what I'll tell you, what I know. I don't have documentation of it. But I was good friends with the gentleman that was in charge of tearing the Heights Hospital down, the construction company. They put that well in for dust suppression because they didn't want to use the town water. And they drilled the well. I believe it's fairly deep. It's not shallow. They had to get that out because it's potable water. They were going to have it with a hose, so it had to be potable. So if someone took the hose to drink it, they had it sent out. It came back with real good quality of water.
Okay.
And as to the gallons per minute or pressure, I think it was designed, or they did it for like a residential. So I think their gauge wasn't on the scale of what we would need to check it at.
Okay. So, I mean, this is clearly one of the things we're going to need to know for
Right.
sure and not have just anecdotally. Does anybody have any questions for Neil? We really appreciate you coming in tonight. You've been putting in long days over there.
Even with using that well up there, it would still have to be transported over to the treatment plant. You
No.
couldn't use it right out.
Yeah.
Well water does not have to be treated at this time.
Oh, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
I don't
We
treat
could-
mine, but I don't know.
I don't
We
treat
could, we
mine
could disinfect it up there and fluoridate it, and it could go directly into the system. It wouldn't have to be filtered.
I have a question. We have well, we're not on town water, and so I don't know how the water sewer bills go out and everything. Is there any way you could put a memo or anything in about that this is normal time of year happenings? I'm just thinking of another that's not super cost intensive, but another way to get information
Yep.
disseminated.
I can look
to-
into a
I
little
don't know.
snippet in the bills.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Something to explain to people that our water comes from a reservoir. Some people believe it comes from a well now, So something online that would let them know that, yes, it does come from a reservoir, and these nature issues are what we have to deal with.
But we gotta kind of be a little careful due to security reasons of putting out what's out there, where it is.
We have to tell
So,
what it is.
so, no, we could say that, it's surface water as opposed to, not well water.
That would be great, yeah. Okay, thank you again.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you.
Vic, did you have a?
Oh.
And through the chair,
Yeah.
and what Neil said, this has been brought up for years. I've heard this, it always turns over. Springtime it'll turn, fall it'll turn.
This spring it didn't, so we didn't get that first hit, which is usually a quick hit. It's reared its ugly head
Yeah,
now.
and it was very hot. I can't, maybe it is a little worse.
And like I say, I drink the water,
Yeah,
and it's 100% safe.
which is the most important thing tonight. I'm glad to get that feedback from you.
Neil,
Thank you.
keep up the good work.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Is there anything else to come before the board? Could I have a motion to go into executive session to return for adjournment?
Make a motion that we go into executive session for reason number 2, to conduct a strategy session in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel.
And to come out.
I'm sorry, sir?
Only to return for the purpose of adjournment.
For the purpose, only to return for the purpose of adjournment.
Second.
And roll call.
Roll call.
Walker, aye.
Goodbye.
Whitman, I.
Still anxiety.
Excellent.